Hello and welcome to Open Line. I'm Starlene Stringer. Spring is here, so it's time to start thinking about mosquitoes and the potential problems they can bring. Viewers are invited to submit questions via email and social media, and we'll be getting those answered throughout the show. City of Irving Mosquito Control Manager Walter Ritchie is our special guest. Thanks for being here, Walter.
Thank you.
Well, you know, it's that time of year, and we just want to know what the mosquito outlook's like overall. What's the outlook like for mosquitoes this year?
Well, I believe that with the lack of freezes that we haven't had, we should probably be prepared to protect ourselves and follow all the instructions. And we certainly are being very aggressive and being prepared for the season. You just really can't ever tell. You know, we did have some cool weather. We've had recent cool weather. That helps. Typically, you want several days of below 32-degree temperature to help degrade it. We really didn't get that this year, so we're being prepared for the worst, but you know, it may be all right.
Well, good. We sure hope so.
Yeah.
Well, we think of this as like being the beginning of mosquito season, but Walter tells us that the city's mosquito control program is year-round. So let's find out what's already being done, Walter.
Well, you know, the program is year-round. You know, our hotline is 24 hours a day. You know, you can leave a message and call us up. We are doing things from prepping. We are also setting traps when they're requested to be classified. We don't really catch many mosquitoes at all during the winter months, but we're willing to do so if they're requested. A lot of times it's just simply after a large rain going out and addressing issues that may pool water and could become a problematic area if left untreated for several weeks. And so we're constantly going out there doing that, restocking our inventory, keeping all our equipment up to date, calibrated, and ready to go.
Good. That's really good, especially considering this year may be a little painful, hopefully not too bad.
Sure, sure.
Well, I know what most of us think about. We think that some of the other mosquito-borne illnesses out there aren't as important maybe as West Nile virus, or aren't as popular as West Nile virus. But the truth is, in addition to West Nile, there are a lot of other viruses we need to be concerned about, right?
Sure, absolutely. West Nile virus is, you know, basically about 14 years old to the United States, and as we know it. And before that, you know, St. Louis encephalitis, equine encephalitis, malaria, dengue have always been, you know, things that we test for and we're very concerned with. Even our residents traveling abroad should be paying attention to mosquitoes and where they're going and take precautions in those other places. It's very important to think and not overlook those types of things. And mosquitoes vector those. You know, the mosquitoes aren't carrying those things. They bite an infected you know, mammal, and when they take a blood meal off of you, that's when you have an opportunity to get infected with something. And you know, the state as well as the city, we try to monitor those things, and we haven't seen any cases like that in many years, but we're always still paying attention to it.
Good. We definitely want to help keep people safe. Now, let me ask you this. When you mention those things, some of those are just really alarming sounding. You've heard of it and you go, oh no, you can get that from a mosquito, but you don't hear of it as much as West Nile virus. Why is that? Is just that West Nile's been in the media more, or what?
Well, you know, the bottom line is, you know, the things that carry some of these viruses, you know, have been treated and eradicated, and so therefore there's not that prevalent. But again, I mentioned abroad, you know, when products come in or animals get brought in from other countries or things of that nature, that's how some of these things that have been eliminated from the United States get introduced, you know, whether they're brought in illegally or somehow make it through. And so then a mosquito takes a blood meal off of that and then again bites a human. But you really haven't seen cases of these things too much, and so therefore you're not going to really hear about them. But it's still very possible to you know, transmit these things if the situation is correct. So we pay attention to it anyway.
Good. And now that you've reminded us to pay attention to it as well, what are some of the symptoms we should look for, whether it's one of those or West Nile? What should we look for?
Well, you know, basically, you know, it's very close to the flu-like symptoms. And, you know, when we're being told by our local health officials and everything that, you know, flu season is at its peak or getting ready to be over, and all of a sudden here you are in the middle of April, June, July, August, and you're all of a sudden showing flu-like symptoms, you know, it might be best to get checked out. It may not be the flu. And so paying attention to those things quickly is important so that it can be treated the best way possible.
Good, and there are some like common sense things that we can all do. Walter calls them the 4 Ds. Let's find out what those are.
Well, it's always important for how you dress. Always pay attention to dawn and dusk, which are the early part and the later parts of the, or the early part of the morning and the early part of the evening, because those are most time when the mosquitoes are going to be most active. Of course, it's one of the most important times of the day where people want to recreate, go outside, walk early in the morning or right before it gets too hot, you know, those types of things. And we encourage them to be careful and protect themselves with a repellent such as DEET. And then certainly the last one is how you dress. You know, we want you to wear long sleeve t-shirts or something. You know, be careful. If you're going to be outside recreating, you know, try to protect yourself. If you're not going to wear long pants, at least protect yourself with some sort of repellent so that you're less likely to get bit.
Wonderful. So those are the 4 things, and they are listed on the screen or have been listed on the screen so people could get an idea of that too. It's very important to point these things out. And you mentioned running and people working out outdoors. Do you recommend that at this time of the year? Or do you just say cover up or stay in and work out? What do you recommend?
Well, you know, Irving is very, very proud of its Campion Trail program, and we have, you know, several miles of trail north and south in Irving. And I think it's a great opportunity to go outside and recreate and run and stay fit. But we also encourage you again to follow the 4 Ds. So if you protect yourself and wear the adequate clothing, you should be fine. You know, being in the Parks and Recreation Department, we're constantly reviewing our parks and inspecting them and looking out for things of that nature and treating where needed. And we feel that they're very safe, and we effectively feel that it's a great place to go out, irregardless of the time of the year.
So we see some guy running around with no shirt on, tank top, or yell out 4 Ds.
Yeah, you want to walk up to them and spray them down, you know, and help them out, but unfortunately we can't do that. So.
You know, well, I know the city does have a hotline where you can call and get some questions answered, or maybe report something that's a concern. Tell me about that.
Well, the mosquito control hotline has been around for several years, and it is a effective way for you to leave a message, you know, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Okay. One of the enhancements that we're doing this year is, you know, for about 4 hours each day, Monday through Friday, you'll actually be able to get a person that answers the phone for you.
Oh, wow.
So right now we're working out the office hours for that, but effectively you'll be able to call during certain parts of the day where you actually get a person that can address your concerns and get a work order out there or answer your questions on the spot. And if not, we plan on returning your calls within either the next business day or within 24 hours. So we encourage year-round participation, and whether it's a question. Last year we put out 50 signs that are still out throughout Irving encouraging residents to call in stagnant water, if you will, or any types of concerns with mosquitoes. And we do. Our residents are the key to making Irving a more recreational place to be outside and enjoying and feeling safe and having peace of mind.
Sure. And what kind of calls do you get in addition to those about stagnant water? Because obviously you've been doing this, you said, for 7 years, having the hotline, and now you feel the need to bring in people to answer those calls live. So there's obviously a concern, or there's a lot of issues with people wanting to call in often. So what are they asking you when they do call usually?
Many times, you know, it's simple clarification of what they need to do, explaining the 4 Ds for them. Sometimes it's a resident that wants to address something near or where they live. You know, there's a body of water that may not be as clean as they would like in, say, their homeowner association area or near their apartment complex, or they might be reporting a unkept swimming pool that a neighbor may have. That's been a big issue, not just for Irving, but for the United States. Unkept pools, or you know, a foreclosed home or an unkept home with a backyard pool, it rains and it goes months and months without being treated. Those are perfect breeding grounds for mosquitoes. So we'll get a lot of calls from residents reporting an unkept pool or reporting a situation that they would like us to check out. There's a storage issue in the yard next to them, and they feel they're fearful, so they want us to look at it and check it out. And we do. We'll go find out if there's anything we can do to help. We will. If we can treat the area, we'll certainly do that.
Okay. Well, up next, I want to talk about the city's spraying program. And I know a lot of you are wondering how they decide where to spray. So let's find out. How do you do that?
Well, we follow the CDC's recommendations when it comes to spraying for mosquitoes.
Okay.
We put out larvicide and try to take care of them before they get their wings year-round all the time. We don't, there's no bias on any of that. If they're standing water, we go and treat it. We also provide larvicide through our recreation centers, and residents can go and get that and treat areas near their house by themselves. They can do that with the larvicide. For the adult spray, if one of the traps that I set out weekly were to yield 50 mosquitoes or more, we would spray that area where we set the trap the very next day. If that same trap were to become positive after being tested, the results, we would also spray that area. If there's any suspected cases of any vector-borne viruses in Irving, in an Irving resident, we would then spray about a half-mile radius from that resident's home. And then if there's a confirmed case of a vector-borne illness in an Irving resident from either the state of Texas or the county, we would then spray as well. So we spray for those 4 reasons.
Okay, and so you talked about these traps. Where exactly are they placed?
We typically place the traps in our park areas throughout the city.
Okay.
Obviously our park system is very vast and we're very proud of it.
Sure.
But we have strategically placed traps throughout the city, north to south, east to west, and they're tested weekly. And we have about 12 to 15 traps that are in the same location, in the same park, at the same place, tested each week at the same time. In addition to that, anytime there's a call for a trap to be set, as long as it's within a significant different destination from the trap site, we'll set a trap for a resident, and then we'll have that trap tested.
Okay, and how exactly do the traps work?
We use what's called gravid traps, which we cook up a menu of what we call our stinky water, if you will, and it's very attractive because it attracts those breeding mosquitoes to the water source. And there's a small but powerful fan that once they go to lay their eggs in the water, the fan actually sucks them up into a mosquito net.
Oh, wow.
And then we only set a trap for less than 8 hours, so we set it in the evening and we pick it up the very next morning, and because we want our samples to be live so that we can get an accurate reading when we do the testing. Okay,
so we're trying to stay away from the mosquitoes at all times. You guys are around them all the time. What do you do to protect yourself? The 4Ds?
Well, we definitely use the 4Ds. You know, we'll put some, we'll make sure to wear clothing that is appropriate for the job, regardless of the heat. You know, but we do want to protect ourselves. So, you know, we're going to be going into the breeding grounds and going to do that thing. So we will take extra precautions, and that is not only wearing all these long sleeve things, but we're spraying ourselves down with DEET and making sure to, you know, wear a cap. You know, me, I don't have any hair, so, you know, a cap's important so that they protect ourselves. But yes, you know, we follow the 4Ds. It's very effective when you do that.
Let me ask you a little bit more about the DEET, because having myself traveled to like different countries, I know there was like this really strong kind of DEET people talk about using, and then I was telling you before the show, I just had a baby, and when I was pregnant, my doctor said you can't use that on your skin. She didn't want me using that type of DEET. It was too strong and too heavy when I would go running. So I was using something, and I don't want to like plug any brands, but it was, you know, one of the popular places like women get makeup and stuff. Sure. There is this oil that they put on their bodies, and they were telling me, oh, all the soldiers are using it overseas and it really works and it smells great. So I was putting that on my body each day. So is there a particular type of DEET, a certain level or a percent that we should be looking for? What do you recommend?
There's a lot of different, you know, DEET comes in several percentages, and you can simply look on the product that you're using to see what the percentage of DEET is. There are also several other organic products out there that are DEET free, and some people are allergic to DEET. So there are several products out there. You can either do a Google search or Bing search or whatever to find those products out. Some of the companies are actually local to Texas that are created, that they're used all around the world. Some of them, you know, you do have to order, you know, or find. They're in specialty stores. I'm familiar with some of the products that you mentioned, and several of your cosmetic companies sell items that are very effective in either flies or mosquitoes or things of that nature, and they do work. Okay. And there's simple products that, you know, there's a product out there, I think it's called Bye Bye Skeeter, They sell at all types of things, bye-bye flies, bye-bye things like that. And, you know, they're very effective, and they have no DEET in them at all, but they're very effective.
Well, that's good to know. So all the people out there that are expecting babies or whatever your needs may be, you're sensitive to DEET, now you know you have other things to help keep you safe. Okay, so something people want to know all the time, Walter, is how do we know when our area is being sprayed? How can we find out?
One of the things that we do is we use social media as well as the Irving website. And when you go to the Irving website, under the front page, there'll be an area for mosquito control, and we have a mosquito control page, if you will.
Okay.
And anytime we're going to be spraying or one of the parameters is met, we'll be posting it on that thing under spray schedules. You know, we are building it. We'll also have public service announcements, shows like this. You can link to other things that we've done, other educational opportunities, pamphlets, things of that nature for them to see that, but they can see the spraying schedule when that occurs. You know, we'll put out some press releases, but the website is going to be the key for people to look if their area has been sprayed or is going to be sprayed.
Wonderful, and I'm glad you mentioned social media, because we tell you time and time again that you can write and send in your questions through our social media sites, and also by sending emails if you'd like. And that's what we're going to look at now, one of the email questions we have for the day. And it says, I live by Running Bear Park, where the city's been doing a lot of road construction and rerouting of the creek that runs through the park and along the west side of Story Road. On the back side of the park are numerous shallow lakes. Last year, we were overwhelmed with mosquitoes and never saw any spraying on the ground or in the air to protect our neighborhoods surrounding the park. When are you going to spray for mosquitoes in our area? Asked Linda.
Well, first and foremost, when we do spray, we spray late in the evening, basically at dark. Our product is very sensitive to ultraviolet light, so therefore, you know, we only spray when it's dark. So a lot of times people aren't going to see us, you know, out and about in the streets. Running Bear Park obviously is one of the City of Irving's park systems. We're very aware of all the construction going on, and we have been treating all those little stagnant pools that get created because of moving dirt and construction, and we'll continue to do so. However, I believe you said her name was Linda.
That's right.
If she would like a trap set in her yard or near her residence to verify what's there or what's going on, we'd be happy to do so. Okay. We'll continue to do that with all of our construction areas that we know about. And we encourage residents to let us know if there's a construction project that we're not aware of, whether it be the cities or not, that we can go out there and make sure that they're following all the directions they need to make sure that the area is safe, not only for their workers, but for the residents that are around the area being constructed on.
Wonderful. And you mentioned the reason that you spray at night, and I actually thought it was something different, so that was new to me. I thought that it was just for our safety because there's few of us out there, but I was concerned that those who are out there when you're spraying, you know, those of us have to get up in the middle of the night and go to work, or early in the morning, and you are spraying. Is there any danger to us?
Well, we always ask people whenever using any type of product, obviously you want to protect yourself and things of that nature. We encourage people to, you know, close their windows, you know, and they can bring their pets inside. You know, what we're using is a pyrethrum-based product, which is basically like a flower type thing. Okay. And it specifically targets, you know, mosquitoes and their nervous system and things of that nature. However, you know, you always have to be careful when you're introducing everything. We tell people to take precautions. We've not had any problems with pets or with fish or things of that nature being effective, but again, we encourage people to be careful, to take accurate precautions when we're doing so. We also offer, if you don't want your area to be sprayed, your resident to be sprayed, if you do not want us to spray in front of your home, we won't do that.
Really?
We will do, all you need to call us, and we'll do a no spray, you know, on that and put it down on there. We have the technology to be able to stop spraying, you know, in front of your house or on your alley or whatever the case may be, and we're willing to do that and respect your wishes.
Very impressive. Okay, so you mentioned pets, and there are a lot of people that are pet owners, and so you covered that and let us know that it's not going to be harmful for them, but if we can bring them in, you recommend that? Sure,
and you know, we were talking about the 4Ds,
right?
And you can use the 4Ds, you know, for pets, except that what I would do is I would find a non-DEET product, and you can actually spray it on your pets, and It's all organic, and it helps to resist. And then, they're much more resistant to West Nile than we are, but there's no reason why you shouldn't protect your pets as well.
All the pet lovers out there that like dressing their pets are going, yay, I can buy new clothes for the doggy.
Exactly.
Too funny.
Exactly.
Okay, so another concern people have is birds. And I know when they see dead birds at this time of the year, you get alarmed and wonder, are they infected with something? When should we be concerned about seeing a dead bird, and when should they contact you?
Well, birds in general originally, like I said, 14 years ago, that was one of the best ways that we could see what the trends were when you had a possibility of West Nile. We simply recommend that if you do have a dead bird, you go ahead and call us, and let us know, and then, we may come, we may pick it up, and we may ask you to dispose of it, but we may ask you, or we will ask you, what was the closest address you can give us to where you found the bird, so that we can track that and see if there's a trend. Because if you call, your neighbor calls, and everybody's calling, and they're all different birds, that's telling us that something is going on, and we want to investigate it either way. So, it may have nothing to do with mosquitoes, but it may very well be a sign that it's already in that area, and it'll cause us to set a trap and to check on more things.
Good deal. Okay, and while we're talking about spraying, Walter, I know last year there was a lot of talk about aerial spraying and ground spraying. So let's find out the merits of actually ground spraying. What's the benefit?
Well, the benefits for the city of Irving is we effectively have our own program. So we can assess ground spraying at any time year round, and we can make those adjustments based on what we find using the CDC's recommendation. Aerial spraying is obviously much more blanketed spraying. Everybody gets what's being put out, irregardless, and it takes a whole lot more time, effort, and money to do so. There's nothing really controversial about it, except for some people may not want their yard sprayed or their area sprayed, and it certainly can have some adverse effects depending on the product you use. But they're both very effective. Many other groups in terms of counties, states use aerial spraying, and it's a very effective means of taking care of that. Both are very effective, but we own our own trucks, and so we ground spray.
Okay, and let's talk about something that can be a big concern, and that's standing water. After it rains especially, we've seen your team out there treating some of those spots. How does that work?
Well, standing water and stagnant water are really two different things.
Okay.
Right after it rains, we do expect a lot of phone calls, but we know the areas that are going to hold water a lot faster than others. If something's going to have water in it for a couple days, it really isn't enough time for mosquitoes to go use it for a breeding ground. They're really not going to even be attracted to it. So although we do want those reported, we're really looking for water that's been sitting in the same place for a long period of time, so that we can treat it so that it won't become a breeding ground for mosquitoes. But yes, after a rain, we do go and investigate to see how long water is going to sit in an area. Fortunately, in the Texas heat, a lot of times they'll evaporate within a couple days.
Okay, and we have another question for you from Facebook. So let's see, it says, it's from Nicole Kramer. She says, I just moved from Southern California and have already seen tons of mosquitoes. Welcome to Texas. She says she's mostly in fear for her dogs, and we've talked a bit about pets, but she wants to know how West Nile can affect them.
Well, they are susceptible to getting sick just like humans are. And again, if you follow the 4Ds for your pet, and I would say try to find a non-DEET alternative, to spray them down with, so that it doesn't get in their eyes or anything like that. But it's a possibility. I think the forecast is for 85 degrees this Saturday, so you do need to protect them, and you need to watch out for them and things like that. But they're going to be just as susceptible to it as we are. Okay. But they deal with it much better. Okay. And that's just pretty much all animals, but I'd be cautious.
You mentioned DEET. Do they have to get that from a pet store? Is it a special kind, or the same kind we use?
Well, if you get the, there are DEET products that are specifically meant for animals, and you can do that. But there's also those DEET alternatives where I said they have 0 DEET in them, and literally you can spray it on anything you want to, and the stuff I use for my family, I spray my pets with it as well.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and another concern people have is being able to take care of their own yards. In case you don't have traps nearby them, they're wondering, how can I get a trap for my own yard? How can they do that?
Well, they can simply call the mosquito control hotline and tell us what's going on, and tell us, what they would like, if they would like a trap set, and, You know, they let us know where they're at. We're happy to do so, and you know, we'll try to get them results. You know, most probably with our in-house testing program within a day or so.
Okay, good deal. And speaking of time frames, this is the beginning of the season for mosquitoes. What's the time frame that we need to be on alert?
You know, we are plugging away at it obviously year round, and we've already been letting people know this month with spring break. It's not so much you got to worry about here in Irving, but whenever you go on vacation to a much warmer climate at this time of the year, we're asking you to be careful. But we want you to be careful all the time. Some of the peaks for mosquito season are going to be in the months of July, August, mid-September. Okay. But you got to be prepared. You never know the weather patterns. You never know the types of mosquitoes that are going to be active at what time of the year. So we're going to be constantly checking and ever vigilant, and we would ask residents to be the same.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job. In fact, Irving's mosquito control program's gotten a lot of attention, and they've been sharing success with other cities. What's the response been?
You know, we've had a lot of cities call us that were they had lots of problems, and they wanted to, some of them did not have a mosquito control program at all. Okay. And so they wanted to create one, and they believed from what they saw and from what we had told them that ours was one of the better programs that existed for municipalities in the area. So we were happy to go visit with them and show them what we do, and it was a benchmarking thing. You know, cities share information with each other, we help each other out, and several cities have done that, and we're happy to help them, and we'll continue to do that for any cities that need our help.
You're helping cities and you're helping citizens too, because I know you do a lot of public outreach. What are some of the biggest concerns and questions you receive?
Well, you know, again, they want to know, how do they protect themselves? You know, when are we going to be spraying? How do they know that it's gotten worse, or what needs to be done, and how they get communicated with? They're really concerned about that, and so we're enhancing the way we do that to make sure that everybody's aware of what we're doing and what they can do for themselves. But in more than that, you know, we're reaching out to civic groups, we're reaching out to you know, assisted living facilities, you know, your clubs and your you know, your rotaries and things of that nature, groups and clubs that meet at lunch or on a weekend. Or, you know, if they want a lecture series done, you know, 30-minute to 1 hour how-to and updates, we're welcome to do that. We'll go out to your group and visit with y'all and do that, and we're happy to do that. And a lot of groups want that, and it's a good subject matter. So even your homeowner association, one of your meetings, if you would like us to attend, we'd be happy to do that.
Awesome. And we're just about out of time, but I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there, so let's clear those up. What are some of the misconceptions you've heard? Well,
I think a lot of people think that the mosquito truly is a carrier, and they're born with, you know, the virus, and that's not the case. The mosquitoes are only the way it's transferred. They're the vector. And so mosquitoes, they take a blood meal and they bite something that's infected. Then they bite us, and it's like sharing a needle or sharing something that's infected, and that's what the biggest misconception is. And so when people want all mosquitoes dead, you know, they have a place in our life cycle, they have a place in the circle of life, if you will. And so what we're trying to do is reduce the health risk, and we're managing health for our residents and for the community, and that's really one of the biggest misconceptions. You know, the other ones is, you know, that they only bite at certain times of the day, or that mosquitoes will bite anytime they want to take a blood meal. So we ask people to protect themselves. Now, they're more problematic in the early morning and in the early evening, and so that's why we tell you to protect yourself at dawn and dusk, because they're more active at that time of the day. You know, in the middle of the night, they're really not active. Most animals and most species of insects do sleep also and rest. So that's what they'll do. So those are some of the two biggest misconceptions about those things.
Well, you mentioned dawn and dusk again. That's 2 of the 4 Ds. The other 2 are?
DEET and draining, and drain all the things, and how you dress.
And before we go, is there anything else out there that we just need to know as this season approaches and really just starts to get busy? We see more mosquitoes out and about all around. What do we need to do other than the 4 Ds?
Well, you know, we encourage, you know, self-education, self-protection. We're providing all those things for you, you know, beginning in April 1st, you can go to your local rec center, and if you'd like to get you know, a can of DEET or a can of repellent, you can do that free of charge. And if you'd like some larvicide, we can provide you with some larvicide. As long as you're an Irving resident and are over the age of 18, we encourage you to do that. We're going to help you to protect yourself, and we encourage you to come see us.
Wonderful. Walter Ritchie, thank you so much for your time and for giving us all this information we definitely need.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you for watching. I'm Starlene Stringer. Please be sure to join us on Thursday, April 11th at 1:30 p.m. for our next edition of Open Line. We will have City Council candidates here for our election special. Now, if you have questions, email them to ictn@cityofirving.org or connect with us on Facebook, and we'll get answers for you on our next edition of Open Line. We'll see you then.